good? What's good, YouTube? Stormy B Man is here and he's back with another Kung Fu Chop session. This evening, we're covering the film Born Invincible from 1978. I hope that you all are ready for a little Kung Fu talk this evening. You know, I'm ready to give it to you if you're ready to receive it. You know, I'll wait for some people to get into the chat there. We got Joseph Brown out there, Gil Coles, Aladdin Saddam, Nitty G. What's going on, man? Southside, Wild Hundreds in the building, Clifton Bronson. Dude had the highest voice I ever heard in the movie. Yeah, man. We gonna talk about it, man. How y'all doing this evening, man? I've been looking forward to this particular broadcast because, I'm bringing this one this evening with a little bit of different special effects, Check me out, man. Stormy B-Man is here, and I got my graphics going for you guys and everything. I told you I'm trying to bring it. I'm trying to make it where you guys come back. You sit down with your favorite beverage and grab you a little small bag of popcorn or something and just chop it up and reminisce about the old Fu flicks, from the days of old, Joseph Brown says, yes, sir, I sure did. Dreezy KO says, hell yeah, I just seen this movie last week. White Brows was putting hands on that whole school with his squeaky voice. Yeah, man. This is, I watched it myself recently because I like to keep myself abreast on the films. I like to know what's going on. So, that's what I do to keep myself entertained with these films. So, are you guys hearing me okay out there? I want to make sure that my volume is good. I got this new speaker here, and I want to make sure that I'm projecting well because I'm sitting back off of it. I'm not close up on it. So give me a thumbs up if I'm sounding okay to you, brothers. So I'm waiting for a little bit of response there in the chat. And y'all know me. I've got my notes here. You probably hear me rustling some paper or something. So as I have my notes, because I don't like to stumble too much, even though sometimes we stumble. Ain't nothing wrong with stumbling, because it lets you know you ain't straight. You know what I mean? Haha, Stormy B-Man with all these quotes and stuff. I should write a book. So, Born Invincible, man. Another interesting Kung Fu film from 1978. And it's starring the same, predominantly the same cast from the film that we covered last time, The Seven Grandmasters. And it was from Honghua International Films, which was another Taiwan film company, one of those low budget companies. It's funny that these these same actors and actresses, they would play in these films, and they would, in Taiwan especially, the small independent film companies from Taiwan would loan these actors and actresses out to different studios to make a living. And it was a way of keeping budget costs down and everything, which is why in a lot of the films it may start off in a nice little setting, but they would quickly move to a road or a countryside or some kind of woodland area or something like that, because they didn't have to have props. They didn't have to have, chairs and tables and things like that. Very low budget. It's also why a lot of the actors and actresses would wear the same clothes pretty much through all the films. I know some people may have noticed these things and over a period of time just forget about it. Then others may look at it and say, hey, this dude been walking around the movie. It's been 3 or 4 days, but he got the same suit on or whatever. So that's why that was, for extremely low budget. Only in the productions that had higher production costs would you notice wardrobe changes and things like that. And typically the changes would be significant. So as we get into this film this evening, I want to say that Born Invincible stars Mark Long, Jack Long, Carter Wong Ta, Lo Lei, Lung Fei, Corey Yuen, and also action choreographed by Yuen Wu Ping of the famous Yuen clan. As I said, most of these actors had returned, with the exception of Lung Fei and Carter Wong from Seven Grandmasters. And Yuen Wu Ping did the action choreography for that film as well. You will know him for more modern day films such as The Matrix, a few of the Jet Li films. As far as the American productions, of course he did the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon film. Very, very noted is Yuen Wu Ping. Both he and Sammo Hung were the top choreographers in Hong Kong film industry in the late 70s and early 80s. They produced action that was off the charts. And in Hong Kong film award shows, they had a category for action choreography. And these two gentlemen took turns winning awards, year after year, with the exception of every once in a while Lau Cha Young from Shaw Brothers Studios or Tony Chung would get a nod for swordplay. Tony Sing Tu Chung is a veteran director, action choreographer, and former actor in the Hong Kong film industry. Noted for Shaw Brother films like Monkey Kung Fu, and later with Golden Harvest Studios, he produced great films like The Sword and Duel to the Death and Last Hurrah for Chivalry. If you remember those titles, Tony Sing Tu Chung is an action choreographer for those films. Now, as far as for this film, as you see, I've put everyone's faces up there with the names, and reading from left to right is Mark Long, Jack Long, Carter Wong, Lo Lei, Lung Fei, Corey Yuen, and the last photo there is the photo of Yuen Wu Ping. These films, with these guys, they were all outstanding performers, with Mark and Jack Long being performers that were from Taiwan who could do the acrobatics. Many people will remember Jack Long in Mystery of Chess Boxing, which I covered last week, playing Pai Mei, and Mark Long from Seven Grandmasters, where Jack Long played Pai Mei, and Mystery of Chess Boxing for Mark Long, where he played the Ghostface Killer. He was that was his most noteworthy role, where he, was roaming the provinces looking for revenge against certain martial masters who had wronged him at an earlier point in life, and he would tell them about his special type of kung fu, the earth style, and all of that. And he was he would one of the funniest parts about these films, when they call out their style while they're fighting, the water technique, and they break out and they start doing something. It's like, man, that stuff was crazy, man. And as a little kid growing up, when you hear them call out the styles like that on your way home from the movie theater, that's what you was doing, calling out your style and then making the sounds like psh, 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 when you hear the hyped up special effects sounds from the kung fu films. What an experience, man. Kids today, they got stuff like the Marvel and Batman and stuff. Well, back then we had kung fu, and that was great, man. It was better than Westerns. You know what I'm saying? Even though a lot of the kung fu films took some of the themes from Westerns. A great time in the industry when these men were so athletic, tremendously athletic. Some of the feats that they performed and working on these shoestring budgets sustained a lot of injuries, and guys would come back to work the next day, and come back to the set after leaving the hospital, being put in cast and everything, and continue fight. It was amazing and absurd at the same time. I want to acknowledge a few more people who have fell into the building. Looks like the audience has picked up a little bit this week, which is great. We got Dark Truth and Derek Bailey. I'm sorry, let me take a moment back. Dreezy KO says, do you think the last fight scene ended kind of cheap? I'll come back to that for you, Dreezy. Clifton Bronson said, if I would have known this was the movie, I would have watched it when I visited my mom in Louisville, Kentucky. Okay, I guess, is that where the movie is for you, Clifton? Derek Bailey is saying, salute Stormy B-Man. Dark Truth is saying, what's up, Stormy B-Man? Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens is saying, salute OG. Dark Truth is saying, salute at Derek Bailey. And Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens is saluting his brothers and sisters that's in the chat. Derek Bailey is also saluting Joseph Brown and Dark Truth. And Joseph Brown is saluting Derek Bailey. Cass G is saying, peace, Stormy B-Man. Gil Coles, what's up with you, Gil? He's saluting Derek Bailey. What you know about Kung Fu Flicks, he says. And Gil Coles is also saying that Joseph Brown, no, I never seen it. I haven't seen Kung Fu Flicks since the 80s. Well, Gil Coles, if you could stop following Keith Thurman around, take a moment out and go get you some of these Kung Fu films. They on Netflix. They on the Fire Stick, Amazon. They're on YouTube, the Wu-Tang channel. A lot of the films I've been talking about as of late have been on the YouTube channel, so you could catch them right there. So if you could take a break from chasing around Keith Thurman, keeping his ponytail fresh, then maybe you could check out some of these Kung Fu films. Okay? Derek Bailey is saying a lot, homie, at Gil Coles. And Dark Truth is saying 78 wasn't impressed with Ghostface Killer. Yeah, I heard. Yeah, Dark Truth, I heard 78 talking. He's like, man, this guy. And he was right, too, because the dude is calling out his styles. Wait till you see my clawfist style. He's calling it out, doing tumbles and stuff on the floor. And they watching him do all this stuff. I was like, man, you just walk over there and kick him while he's on the ground. You know what I'm saying? It's funny, though. But that's what makes these Kung Fu films what they are, man. They are a riot, plenty of fun, and, just overall, you catch yourself watching this stuff, man, and it's like, you just have a good time, man. It's like, I don't know. Carter Wong in the film is playing the bad guy, and the character that he is playing is a Tai Chi expert, and this special form of Tai Chi is where he learned the Iron Vest technique, or it's called the Golden Armor or the Invincible Armor Kung Fu technique, which is supposed to start with practitioners at the early age of like three or 4 years old, and they roll him around in herbs and spread stuff over his body that is cured over the years. He has a strict diet that he sticks to, and it takes him up to about the age of 30 to totally master the style and master the technique. And they explain it in the opening epilogue of this film, where in most kung fu films of this style, they would always have an opening epilogue that would either set the tone for the film of what was to come, or it would set the it would set the tone for explaining the styles that you're going to see in the fight scenes. And Tai Chi was featured in this film. Also, it is explained in the opening epilogue that the character that Carter Wong is playing, the villain, his mastery of the Tai Chi style, it also affects his voice and turns his hair white, because his abstinence from all the pleasures of life and everything was so stringent and strict that he ages like externally, like becomes like an older looking person or whatever. Special effects, that's what that was, basically, to explain the film. And so that's why also he had that funny high-pitched voice and laugh in the film. I can't imitate the voice at this particular time, but he spoke like with a real high-pitched Michael Jackson like high-pitched voice, and that ended up also being one of the focal points in the film as they devised a way to bring him down. Now, Carter Wong in this film and his two students, they're like marching through the provinces, taking down various martial arts styles and schools, and they come across this one gentleman that they wanted to murder, and he and his daughter, played by Nancy Yen, who was also in the Seven Grand Masters, they take refuge in a home that is it's a school and a home by Lung Fei, who has his own school of kung fu. And when they come across this school, they're demanding that he, give up this man who's sought refuge there. And Lung Fei, like most dumb men in kung fu films, decided not to give the guy up. He said that I'm not going to release him and let him leave my school until he's healthy again or whatever. And Lo Lei delivers a classic line to him in the film. He was like, okay, we'll give you some time. And Lung Fei was like, oh, you're going to give us time? He's like, right, we'll give you 2 hours. So it's like he tells the guy, they'll give him 2 hours to let the old man heal up. But other than that, you better send him outside or they coming in to get him. So, of course, some fights ensue and everything like that. And Lung Fei gets his ass whooped. And he finds that, his students have to, try to save him, but they can't. He got his ass whooped by the white eyebrow master here, Carter Wong, who put that Tai Chi on his ass. So, like I said, like most dumb guys in kung fu movies, you should have just gave the old man up. Hey, we ain't in this, I ain't got nothing to do with it. Give him up. But they didn't do it. So he got his ass whooped. And so the students survived, okay? But they said that they were going to have to try to defeat this guy and take revenge for their teacher who had fallen, right? And you know what happens next is there's a whole thing where they're trying to learn how to defeat the Tai Chi style and everything, and you know, studying all of this. So that's where the film goes. Let me see. Back in the chat, we got Dark Truth laughing. Gil Coles is laughing. Let's see. I know you guys are like tripping on how I'm explaining this tonight, but I just found it funny, man, that they try to, let the guy stay in the graces of the school without, staying out of the mess, because if you stay out of the mess, you might live. These guys are bandits or whatever, and you could tell they done whooped a lot of ass in their lives, so you don't want to mess with these dudes. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to mess with them. But that teacher, he wasn't smart enough, man. He wasn't smart enough. So, but yeah, so let me see who's in the chat. Nitty G is saying, salute Stormy B-Man in chat. Got to go lay down for work in the early AM. He's giving a peace sign, LDBC, Chicago. All right, man. Thanks for stopping by, man. Hit that like button on your way out, Nitty G. We're talking about this Kung Fu here tonight. Joseph Brown is, laughing. Derek Bailey says, I was never a big Carter Wong fan. Sean the Icon is like, sometime a historical event that happened prior. I love that about these flicks. Dark Truth says his voice was funny to me. Derek McGee is saying Stormy B-Man with the fist. And Clifton Bronson says that's hilarious. 2 hours. Clifton Bronson also said, I wanted to kick the clothes off the school when they just put herbs on dudes' chests after white brows put them hands on him. Yeah, man. That was another thing about Kung Fu flicks, man. They like to, put some herbs in a pot and with a spoon and grind them down and pour some hot oils or water on it or something. And you got to drink it in a bowl or something. It's supposed to make you feel better. And guys be bleeding from the mouth and stuff. I don't know why Kung Fu men always bleed from the mouth. Like their insides got messed up and they got to spit out the blood. Like, So that's another funny part about these films, but yeah, that's what so the students, they try to figure out what the iron robe or the invincible armor technique that Carter Wong has, how it could be broken, how his skin could be pierced. And several students end up meeting their fate after trying to take him on, but that's, they didn't get a chance to learn how to fight a style that great or whatever because their teacher got taken out. So they had to fend for themselves. And that's what brought them to that point where they, had to use ingenuity to try to overcome Carter Wong. Now, I know that someone in the chat said that they didn't like Carter Wong too much. And yeah, Carter Wong was one of those actors from the Hong Kong film industry. He started out very young. I think Carter Wong might have been 19, 20 years old when he first started out. And he was with the Golden Harvest Film Company. And he played in a lot of films alongside of Angela Mao. But Carter Wong was a true martial artist. And forgive me, at this time, what his martial arts style was. I think it was Taekwondo. but he was a real fighter. And if you ever saw a close up of his hands, he had those calloused knuckles from guys who try to train with that iron fist technique or whatever, where they develop the strength in their hands and fists and knuckles. Carter Wong has some brutal knuckles, man. He looked like he was a street fist fighter by the hands, even as a young man. His action when he played a good guy, he didn't fare very well. But when he played a villain, people seemed to like him more as a villain. So this is one of his iconic roles as a villain, and playing a white eyebrows guy that you really love to hate on the screen. He had a little bit of charisma with that. And so he was brought back to play villains in future films. Also Shaolin films that were made by the independent Taiwan companies. He'll usually play a disgraceful emperor or something like that, or head captains or guardsmen of an emperor. Carter Wong was that guy. Now, Mark Long and Jack Long in this film, they played students of Lung Fei. So they weren't the headlining guys in the film. And actually, Jack Long bites the dust, early in the film. He tried to go after the Tai Chi master, and he got his ass handed to him too. So it was like when the Tai Chi master would defeat them, he would let out this laugh, like chuckle that he's laughing at them. And it was really something that made you hate the guy, because his voice was so high pitched when he was laughing and everything. You just kind of cringe when you hear him. And in the dubs of the films, he sounded even worse. But if you watch the film with this Mandarin language and Chinese subtitles, it's not as bad, but it's still, they drive the point across. Excuse me, you all. They drive the point across that he has a high-pitched voice. It's in the audio soundtrack. So, yeah. Gil Cole says they got the whole movie on YouTube. Clifton Bronson says, good looking out, Gil Coles. And he says he's going to check it out. It's a classic. Joseph Brown says, yeah, Gil Coles, they got a lot of those movies on YouTube. And it's a classic. Dreezy KO says, that was a quick-ass 2 hours. That was so funny about it. The coldest student, the one who lost his ability to continue Kung Fu. I know, right? And that was what was funny, too. It was like the master died, the head senior student got killed, and then the rest of the students was left to fend, and the other guy couldn't fight. It was like, man, and the villain was mean, man. And his two students, they were rough, too. Lo Lee was a bastard in this film, man. He was the kind of guy that was just like ruthless. He had no principles at all, man. That dude was crazy, the way he went after people, man. So it's like Lo Lee was one of his most classless roles here. And anybody that remembers Lo Lee from King Boxer or Five Fingers of Death, where he was the hero, this is a far, far cry from that, his performance in this film. So, Sean the Icon says, I think this is the first flick Carter was a bad guy. I'm not certain about that, because during that year, Sean the Icon, 1978, they released a ton of films. So these guys got a lot of work in that year. So it's hard to say which one came first. And Carter Wong played a villain in a couple of those films that came out. And he was also in the 18 Bronzemen 1 and 2. So with that, he was working his butt off that year in 1978. These were the films that they were shoving out to try to compete with what Jackie Chan was doing, since Jackie had become a box office sensation with Snake and the Eagle's Shadow and Drunken Master. I Am Will has fallen into the building. What's going on with you, I Am Will? Glad to see you, brother. Clifton Bronson says them dudes was mad athletic. Yeah, man, that's what I always talk about, Clifton Bronson. The athleticism of these guys in these films. They were about, I mean, in age ranges from like 17 years old to 28 years old. And these guys could do it, man. They could do it all. They were good with weapons. They were good with athletics as far as gymnastics. They were good with martial ability. And they were fearless and tireless. You know, these guys, a lot of their fight scenes, they would probably film a fight scene within a few days, you know, like 4 or 5 days. They could take to film the movie as far as fight scenes. But what they did, the choreography, what it called for, that was what was grueling, because the takes were a lot longer. They would use a wider lens. If you notice and you watch films like this, these older films, they give you a wide shot where you can see the actors from head to toe. That lets you know that's the real guy doing the performance there. And if it required a flip, somersault, or some type of intricate movement tagged in with 50 to 60 motions of blocking, punching, kicking, slipping, moving, all of that was amazing that these men could come out and do this stuff like this. So when you watch these films, you were getting a treat seeing what they were capable of doing on the screen. It was one of the things I admired. I was like, you know, on VHS, watching the films, you used to rewind the tape. On DVD, you go back to that scene a few sets and you go back and check something out and you'd be like, man, I got to see that again, what he just did. You know, it was very, very entertaining to see these guys do what they did. You know, I really admire a lot of the ability that these men showed when they were doing what they were doing. They were truly great performers, man. Great performers. You know, I like to joke, but I wouldn't joke about the ability that these men would show you that they had on a film. I wouldn't joke about that at all. So, you know, getting back to the choreography, Yuen Wu-ping began to set the standard with these action scenes shot with the wide, you know, lenses, like I told you just a moment ago. Sometimes these movements and techniques that they had to display before the camera could feature up to 100 moves in a take. Now, it may not seem that way, because especially if you got two guys, you know, but you have to account for every movement this guy does, he has a counter on the other side of the opponent. So when you combine the movements of both, like if I have 50 sets, then the guy I'm fighting has 50 responses. That's 100 moves and techniques that the choreographer had to create. And that's what I mean by 100 moves in a take, or 60 moves in a take, or 80 moves in a take. You know, that's the intricacy of a martial arts choreography. And when the camera just rolls and they finish, then it cut to something else, and you'll have a new set of things taking place. In American films, when you see an action scene, you see a punch, a guy react, and then you see a guy hit the ground or something. It's like 2 or 3 cuts on one thing that took place. That's because these guys are not as intricate with the action, and the responses and things like that are not the same, because stuntmen are involved and whatnot. Unless people are wearing a garment, then the stuntman can be covered up and appear to be the main actor, you know. That's why the action scenes in America are still so poor. They're like years behind, you know, what they were doing over in Asia. And they've brought Asian choreographers over here to try to give flavor to the American action films, but it's just something about the Americans because they haven't taken the athleticism to the degree that those fighters and choreographers from over there have. Some of them have made that their life work. Over here it's the opposite. They want to learn something for the film, but that's all they want to do. So that's one of the things to keep into consideration for the future. In order to see better fight scenes, you really need to have the performers raise their game, and until they do that, the quality won't go up. The quality will not go up until they've done that. So I want to take it back to the chat for a minute. Gil Cole says, I just saved about 10 movies. Hey, man, you're doing yourself some justice with that. I'll tell you that, Gil Coles. It'll be worth your while. You'll learn what you really like and what you don't like. But I'm telling you, there's something in the bag for everyone. Sean the Icon says, that's true. I think Shaolin Mystagogue was out too. Yeah, Shaolin Mystagogue was a great kung fu movie. One I definitely want to get around to watching again. I have it in my collection. But also one I would love to cover for the chop session on here. One thing about the Shaolin Mystagogue Kung Fu is the weapons that Chang Yi used, the bloody birds. Remember, it was like these two little devices that looked like canisters with wing tips on them, and they spent around like a whirly bird, and he could throw them and they'll cut people's heads off and stuff, and they'd come back to him, sort of like the flying guillotine. It was his take on the flying guillotine. And then when he closed them up, they just fold up like wings, and he put them in his little side pouch or whatever. That was really cool, man. I love that. Chang Yi, and he had that cool streak of gray in his black hair. He looked like, a cartoon character or something, like from the Dragon Ball Z or something with that hair. And I'll tell you, man, back in those days, they used to be dressed in those weird outfits and stuff. Gold and black and red and black, these outfits they would wear, but they were looking sharp, man. And it was always very entertaining, catching these guys like that. I love watching those films and watching these guys come out with those wardrobes like that. They always look real cool to me. And those ponytails, man. But not Keith Thurman ponytails, Gil Cole. Not Keith Thurman ponytails. Not that, bro. So forget about that, all right? That's probably why you're hanging around Keith Thurman, because you like them kung fu ponytails. Derek Bailey says, Stormy, didn't they make the movies without sound, then dub them later? Yes, in some instances. Some films were shot, like in Taiwan, they may have shot some of them with sound. But one of the major reasons, Derek Bailey, that the films were shot without audio is because of the huge population in Hong Kong. And it was always so noisy, day and night. In Taiwan, maybe not the same, but the other part was when they would get the films prepared for release, because they were released in certain provinces and things like that, there were certain dialects that people would speak. So you had the Mandarin and the Cantonese. Okay, so the films were prepared for language to be distributed in certain markets. So if you spoke Cantonese and you were from Fukanese province, that would probably be, a film that would be distributed in that region, with Cantonese. But Mandarin was the major language in Chinese, and it's a little more formal, and it's a language that, believe it or not, they used to say like a lower stature people spoke Cantonese or whatever. So in Chinese, they really have problems with prejudices with their own kind. You think black people go at each other a lot or whatever. Chinese people do the same. That's why so many colonizers and enemies of the state would try to come in and take over their land and stuff like that, because the people just couldn't get along. And that's a theme that runs through a lot of the kung fu films too, is that their people don't stand united. And when heroes came along in these films who wanted to show heroism and be united, this is what they would do to put them in that position to be more upright and supportive of people. Clifton Bronson says, I think a girl got beat up. They were cutthroat. It was so funny because it was so cheesy. Clifton Bronson also says, this is a great breakdown, Stormy B, man. Sean the Icon, thank you, brother. Sean the Icon says, I think Keanu Reeves probably the only few who work hard at the craft. Yeah, Keanu Reeves actually adopted a lot of the philosophical approaches from the Eastern culture when he had the experiences of working with some of those people up close. I can tell you that it's a fascinating culture. It has varying degrees and depths of virtue. On the surface, life is worth little. In greater depth, the value of what you do in life means more, and all of that. It's really a different culture, man, altogether. It really is. So Clifton Bronson says, you got to give us a heads up on the next movie you plan to review on the next Chop session. Hey, Clifton Bronson, when I did the 7 Grandmasters, I said that this was going to be the new one. You know, you didn't watch it. You were faking like you were listening in on me, brother. I always mention what the next review will be, so you guys will be prepared. So in the last show, 7 Grandmasters, I said the next show I think I'm going to do is the Born Invincible, because it stars the same cast. Now, I'm not going to go with another film starring these same actors and actresses for my next session, because I want to give you something different and fresh. So by the end of this show, I'll let you know what that is. But you got to be listening out, brother. You gotta be listening out for that. Okay? So Gil Coles is rolling laughing, and Clifton Bronson is rolling laughing. And Sean the Icon says, one of the major English voiceover came from a cat who frequently starred on Sherlock Holmes, the Basil Rathbone version, here on YouTube, which I also binge on. Yeah, there were some people who were given to doing the dub tracks for these films, and they covered the whole can of films that came across the studios. You would hear the same familiar voices. You know, like if you've seen a Bruce Lee film, or if you've seen a film with David Chang, you'll find they had the same voice. David Chang sounds just like Bruce Lee in the English dub. That's because there was a dubbing crew who was set aside for these films, and it was a very small crew. Less than, I think the greater number might have been about 10 voices. And then you would have even poorer production films, if that was even possible, which it was, where these guys would have 4 or 5 voices for a film. And that's the films that you'll get the real cheesy dubs, where you get somebody talking like this. Let's get them right away. You know, when they say stuff like that, that's a guy who's doing several voices on the audio track for the film. That's why they sounded like that, even though that wasn't the way to do it in a proper manner. There are other ways to mask a voice and change a voice octave and things like that. But back then, they didn't really care about that. They were distributing these films and shipping them out for for movie houses so fast, man. It was like an assembly line. Kung Fu was a huge wave during that era. A huge wave. Dark Truth says, Stormy B Man, I'm trying to find a Kung Fu movie. It was about a married couple, Chinese, Japanese, and they would have had cultural differences and had friendly duels until things get out of hand. Yeah, that's Heroes of the East, a Shaw Brothers film with Lau Char Lang and Gordon Liu. Lau Char Lang was the choreographer, Gordon Liu's older brother in Sifu, and Gordon Liu is the master killer, the bald-head brother who looked like the Asian Yul Brynner. That was Gordon Liu in Heroes of the East. Okay, also known as Shaolin Challenges Ninja. Okay, so yeah, you could look for that film. A lot of the Shaw Brothers films are not on YouTube though because of copyright infringements and things like that. But you can find a lot of the Shaw Brothers films on Amazon Prime now. They have tons of them on there. I've seen them and remastered also. But some of them are in English and a lot of them are subtitled. Chinese with English subtitles. Clifton Bronson says, I was out of town, Stormy B Man. Okay, brother, you was out of town. But you know, when you hear the show, I will always let you know what's coming up next. I won't just leave you hanging, bro. You know, that's how I like to do it. The teacher got class in session. You know what I'm saying? You got to study to make the grade, you know? Because all this shit is going to be on the test. So, hey, man, you guys, y'all hanging around in the chat and everything. Y'all ain't even said nothing about Stormy B Man's graphics. You know I try to put these graphics up here for you guys and try to impress you and everything. Make it look like I know what I'm doing and everything. Y'all supposed to tell me something, man. Say something about a brother's, you know, he's trying to change it up for you. You know what I mean? It's like presentation, man. Presentation. I'm trying to make it nice for you guys. You know? Trying to make it nice. You know? I do all of this because I like it, man. You know, I try to create some visuals to go along. So you're just not hearing my voice, but you know, even though my voice is prominent in this process, it's like, you know, I like to put together a show. You know, when you come to my channel and you're enjoying this time with me, I try to make it worth your while. So if you're saying, hey, man, we like it and this and that, then you know, it encourages me, you know, to do something even better. You know, like I know y'all didn't expect to see me sitting back there in the background like that, huh? Right under the pentagram, huh? The Tai Chi pentagram. You know, Carter Wong sitting on it on the floor and I'm sitting behind it in the back. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Sean the Icon says, I appreciate this channel for covering one of my favorite pastimes, Kung Fu. Hey, Sean the Icon, I hope you subscribe, brother, and you hit the bell icon because I do put the notification out when the show was going to come. So, but I do it at least one a week. And so far, they've been dropping on Thursdays. And I think that's a good time for me because there are other brothers doing stuff, you know, and they're going live and they talking their thing or whatever. But this is Kung Fu. So, you know, I don't have a lot of boxing talk, you know, after my show on Friday and stuff like that because I try to keep it, you know, I talk the technical aspects of boxing and everything. I don't like to talk the politics of it and all of that too much. So I found another avenue. And I'm glad that the people are responding because I can talk about some Kung Fu movies, man. You know what I mean? I got so many in my collection. I've seen them so many different times. I sometimes, when I'm doing my boxing Friday night show or whatever, while I'm talking to you guys and got the panel and stuff, I got a kung fu movie playing on TV in the background. So I be doing the thing, you know what I mean, when it comes to these kung fu movies. But I'm glad you're enjoying it, brother. That's what it's all about. I'm trying to put it out there for something someone who enjoys this as a favorite pastime. You know, that's what I try to do. I try to bring it to you in that manner. Clifton Bronson says, yeah, lots of tribalism in Asiatic cultures. Sad but true. Also in our black cultures too, brother. Even in America. Sean the Icon says some of the women's voices were actually men. Yes, Sean, that's what they say. You know, when they talk like this. Man, that had me rolling. It'd be like, that's a dude. Yeah, that's hilarious, man, when they do that. Those women voices as dudes, man. And dudes as little kids. Man, that's the worst one right there. You know. Derek Bailey says, that's a good movie. Sean the Icon said, oh, that's a classic. Gordon Liu. Yes, sir. Dark Truth says, gotcha. Thanks. And Sean the Icon says, Netflix got a few. Okay. Joseph Brown says, facts. Oh, it just jumped up on me there. Oh, man. I'm like laughing at this. Joseph Brown says, facts. Dreezy KO says, do you think the Invincible armor is the strongest style in Kung Fu? They can take punches and kicks like nothing. Plus, in this movie, his groin wasn't his weakness. Cinematically, it was great because you have to figure out an ingenious way of defeating the proponent of this style. In real life, nothing stops the bullet, my man. Bruce Lee will tell you that. Remember in Enter the Dragon when he told Braithwaite, why doesn't someone just pull out a .45 and bang, settle it? Hey, listen to Bruce, man. He was years ahead of his time. You know, years ahead of his time. He told y'all what was really happening. Bruce. You know what I mean? So, Bruce let you know. Gil Cole says, damn, Stormy B-Man called that off the dome, producers and all. Yeah, man. This is what I do, Gil Coles. You think I was out here playing around, man? You listen, man. I know my kung fu. I told you that. I told you. And I told you about that Keith Thurman fight, too. You didn't listen then. When you gonna listen to me, Gil Coles? You know what? You get an F in my class, man, because you failing. You're not listening to me. I'm giving you almost the answers, and you still failing in the class, bro. I'm just kidding, Gil Close. You know I gotta cut you up sometimes. Joseph Brown says, Stormy B, man, I like the details you put into each breakdown. Thank you, brother. I try to keep it, you know, I try to keep it, you know, where it gives you a little bit of insight as to what's happening, because even though these films starred a lot of the same people, you saw a lot of similar action, but great stunts and things like that. It was not simple by any means. I mean, you had to know the hell what you were doing. You had to know what you were doing in these films, because these guys, they were so gifted. It's like watching NBA players play. I mean, the real good players, and you see them at their peak doing what they do. And yeah, you might play in pickup games in the playground or something, but you can't get out there with them guys. You know what I mean? Their bodies are honed, they're conditioned. You know, they have this equipment and certain diet and this and that, and they jump higher, they run faster. It's almost like inhuman, you know, the regular Joe going up against one of those guys. Kung Fu martial artists and film stars from that era were the same. That's why when the era went down in the mid 80s, a lot of these guys got depression and they started drinking and stuff like that because Kung Fu films were kind of going away. And TV was becoming more prominent in Asia. It came late for them, television. That's why Shaw Brothers Studios shut down and became a TV producing station. They didn't want to make movies anymore. And there were people who just, you know, found themselves, they were left with, you know, they were left behind. And it was a shame because a lot of those actors, they became alcoholics and stuff like that, and you know, they just didn't keep themselves up. You know, Robert Stewart says class is definitely in session. Salute Stormy B Man. Dark Truth says, we are jaded to your high quality. to your high quality story, B-Man. Thank you, brother. She. Derek Bailey says, the background is tight, Stormy B-Man. Sean the Icon says, here's a great movie, Raiders of Wu-Tang and Shaolin Abbott, a.k.a. Slice of Death. Yeah, Shaolin Abbott a.k.a. Slice of Death, is another film where Lo Lei played the Pai Mei, the White Hermit. And David Chang is the star of the film, where he actually plays the Shaolin master in that film and shaved his head for the role. Something that he didn't like doing and didn't really want to do, but they told him to play Santi, I think he was playing, the famous Shaolin warrior. He had to shave his head for the role because Shanti was bald-headed. And his hair was of a way they couldn't put a skin mat on his head to hold his hair down and make him look bald. So, yeah. A very good film, one that I could cover in the future as well. There are so many, but yes, I would like to get to that one. Let's see, where are we now? Sean the Icon says, yep, the graphics are fire, bro. Robert Stewart says, Kung Fu Fighting Guru. Yeah. Clifton Bronson says, yeah, I like the yin yang background too. Joseph Brown says, Stormy B Man, the chop session brings me back to the love I had for Kung Fu movies. Hey man, I'm telling you, that's what it is, man. If someone else was doing what I'm doing right now, I would be right there listening because I like it, you know. I have so many Kung Fu films in my collection. It's just something that I love, man. It is really nice to have that, you know. Really nice to have it. So, let's see what we got here. Dark Truth is laughing. Clifton Bronson is laughing. Gil Coles is laughing and rolling. Clifton Bronson is still laughing. And Aladdin Saddam says, can we get one of Five Deadly Venoms. Listen, Aladdin Saddam. Absolutely, I could do a show on those films and any of the Shaw films. But you know, Shaw has such a grip on the minds of the public. I'm trying to bring some of these independents into the mix of things. I would like to get around to those films, but I also want to discuss these films that I'm bringing up because they are classics in their own right. And many people didn't see some of these films because of the Shaw Brothers films, and that's what they knew and loved. You know, I haven't even gone into the films based out of the studio of Golden Harvest yet, which is the studio that made Bruce Lee's films, but also made a great counter to the films that were being produced out of Shaw Brothers Studios. So, yeah, there's a number of things that I would love to share with you guys, you know, but just don't put the cart before the horse. You know, allow yourself to enjoy, you know, what I'm bringing because I will work my way around. You know, this is not something that I'm doing just haphazardly. I'm doing it with purpose because when you think of a kung fu film, the first one that may come to your mind is a Shaw Brothers film. You know, but some of these films that I'm mentioning, they're equally as valuable and a part of the history of the genre. And there are so much backstories to some of these films that you would have no knowledge of because Shaw's was so prominent. You know, some of the movie houses played 3 Shaw Brothers films, you know, the major movie houses. And these independent films got pushed back to old, small local theaters and stuff like that. So that's something to bear in mind when you're talking about these films. You know, it's something to keep abreast of because that a lot of people don't understand that aspect. A lot of people don't understand that. So, yeah. You know. So, Earl Taylor Sr. is in the house. He says, salute Stormy B, man. What's going on with you, Earl Taylor? Glad to see you. People, don't forget to hit that like button as you come in. You know what I mean? Hit that like button. Let Stormy B Man know that you're supporting what he's doing. I know there's more people out there than what I'm seeing in the chat reading right now. It's telling me I only have a measly 9 people watching, but I know it's more than that because some of y'all sitting back there, you're still, you know, in your bathrobes and stuff like that and don't want to let me know that you're in there. But that's okay. The Stormy B Man channel welcomes all viewers. You know what I mean? And if you know something about Kung Fu movies, leave a comment, man. Let's talk about them. You understand? That's what it's all about. This is for you guys, man. And I'm just glad to be able to talk about it with you guys. Dreezy KO says, Shaolin Master, Hidden Dragon is trash. Aladdin Saddam says, I watch a lot of Kung Fu movies on the El Rey network every Sunday morning to add to my collection. Yeah, and a lot of those are Shaw Brothers films too, aren't they, Aladdin Saddam? When I used to have cable, I had the El Rey network, and you could see those films on the El Rey network. So, yeah, I remember those films, and a lot of them were Shaw's. So, yeah. Robert Stewart is giving the fist pump sign. Sean the Icon is saying, back in the day, if it wasn't a Shaw Brothers flick, it wasn't good. Later, I found out there's others out there. Absolutely. Sean the Icon. That's why I'm taking us through this process of recalling some of these films that were the independents. That's when I say the independent films. They were the smaller films, lower budgets, but greater athletes in front of the camera. These guys were tremendous. And when you didn't have a chance to enjoy what they brought, you know, you were robbed of that when Shaw Brothers just dominated so many of the film houses, you know. So just understand that that's where that comes from. You know, that's where that comes from. So Derek Bailey says Run Run Shaw lived a long time, Stormy. He was 102, I think, when he died. I think he was living in Vegas. And he says Shaw Brothers had the industry on lock. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Uh, Aladdin Saddam says I was the 14th like. Okay, 14 likes. That's pretty good, brother. My for whatever reason, my it didn't up. It hasn't updated on my picture on my page. I tried to refresh it to see if it would update, and it did not. So let's see. Maybe I can pull it out from a different page. I like listening to my broadcast in my ear as well as I'm watching with you guys. You know, that lets me know what's going on. You know. So let's see here. What do we have? Sean the Icon says, Stormy B Man, you a kung fu nerd to the highest power. Thank you, sir. He says, salute to you for knowing the backstories of this genre. Yeah, thank you, man. It's just, hey, you know what I've done? Put the knowledge to use. That's all I've done, because it's like information overload almost to a certain degree. But I've been able to do that. Put the knowledge to use. You know, that's what it is. A brother talking kung fu movies. You know, it's amazing. You could probably talk about somebody near you, and it might be a person who's told, man, hey, they might like. But then you come on here, and you find out there's a whole bunch of people out there like you that love kung fu movies and would love to talk about them, but they want to have that brethren, you know, the brethren, you know. So that's important, you know. Aladdin Saddam says, Wu-Tang put me on a lot of kung fu besides what we used to watch. He says Shaw Brothers films were consistently good though. Yeah, well, you know what, Derek Bailey, the Shaw Brothers films were consistently good because they had higher production quality. The outfits that they wore looked great. The sets were beautiful, nice, well lit, artistic. Looking at a Shaw Brothers film, almost any shot is like looking at a painting. And they took a lot of pride in that. Run Run Shaw, he put the expenses in his productions. And he didn't pay the actors very well, but the project was great, and the distribution pipeline that he had was great. Therefore, he was able to rake in a ton of revenue. It's just a shame the actors and actresses didn't get paid like they should have. You know? Aladdin Saddam says, Wu-Tang put me on a lot of kung fu besides what we used to watch. Derek Bailey says, Shaw Brothers films were consistently good. Yeah. Yeah. I read that. I'm sorry. But, yeah, brothers, you know, when you can watch these films and pick up on a lot of the things that I did, and then, like say, I paid attention to a lot of the people who played in the films, and when I learned about action choreography, I got more into that aspect of it. And I grew up in a martial arts household. Siblings, being able to fight, because they studied martial arts. I studied martial arts as a kid. It's like it came out of that era. That was the thing to do. Really enjoyed that. You know, it was a part of my life, a huge part. So, you know. Dreezy KO says, "Did you see Birth of a Dragon? That movie came out a couple of years ago, and the fight scenes in those were whack compared to old school." Yeah, man. I don't know why they keep trying to make these films about Bruce Lee, his life, what he did, where he was drinking and stuff. It's like, it's crazy, man. I mean, and the further we get away from the time that he walked the earth, the more fantastic these stories become about him. And that's what's really heartbreaking. Do you know I recently discovered a copy of Bruce Lee, the Man, the Myth, which is made in 1976 or 77, I think, with Bruce Lee. I think it was produced by Seasonal Films, but I'm not 100% certain right now. I have to double check that. But it was directed by N.C. Ewan. N.C. Ewan did a lot of these films, like, directed films like, Snake in the Eagle's Shadow, or The Secret Rivals and stuff like that. And it was a biographical film about Bruce Lee, but one of the best ever done about him till this day. Even Dragging the Bruce Lee story doesn't hold a candle to Bruce Lee, the Man, the Myth. And I found something interesting. Like I said, a newly discovered version of the film, because I had always seen the American version. The American version of Bruce Lee, the Man, the Myth is cut to shit. Okay? The version I have is from Europe, and I think it's from Germany. It's the German copy of the film, widescreen, nice print, very nice. And there's some scenes in the movie that were cut from the U.S. release, because I actually have the U.S. release as well. So you're missing about 10 to 12 minutes of the movie. But it adds so much to the story and the storytelling that I was like, why did they cut this stuff out? It was really great that it was in the film. And now I am so fortunate that I have it, because I considered it the ultimate biographical film on Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee, the Man, the Myth, with old Bruce Lee in there. So, let's see. Sean the Icon says, on my end, I see like 18 likes. Well, it went to 17 now, Sean the Icon. So somebody gave me they took a like away. Where do you rank Philip Kwok as kung fu actors? Philip Kwok was very good, man. He was very good in the Shaw Brothers films. I will talk about him in the future, because he was a very innovative person in the industry. Even after leaving the Shaws, and he went back to Taiwan for a while, and then he started working on some films like with John Woo and things like that, action gunplay films. Philip Kwok was a very talented performer and action choreographer in his own right. Hyphy says there's an 18 sign to cover. The 18 bronzeman next. I determine what's next, young fella. And you're going to watch it when I determine who it is and what it is. Robert Stewart says, damn, I get to get my homework. Yeah, get up on my homework. And Sean the Icon is saying, what's up at Hyphy? How you doing, bro? So, you know, as I get ready to close things out, you know, I wanted to say thank you to everybody who came out and wanted to support me in these efforts of providing you with some Kung Fu film talk. You guys have been a great audience and a great chat because you gave me a lot of interaction today, which I love. I always love interacting with the chat. You brothers are very cool, you know, doing that. And today you actually give me some real good feedback and everything, and not just kind of listening and, you know, being dead air. So I want to say thank you for that. Tremendous job in supporting me. Tremendous job. So I say thank you to you brothers. So Sean the Icon says, out of all the leg guys, who do you rate the best of 3? The best leg fighters. Probably Wong Cheng Li. Wong Cheng Li was probably the best. But there are guys, I mean, of course you could look at the Tan Tao Lam and his student John Liu, and also guys, you know, but it's like Wong Cheng Li was an awesome on-screen fighter and a real martial artist in real life. A tremendous fighter. He is someone that I see that's head and shoulders above a lot of other people. So, but yeah. Well, as I get ready to close this out tonight, you guys, I want to say thank you to everybody who joined me, and be looking out for the next episode. I think the next episode I want to do will be a surprise joint for you guys. We're going to go back to a little Chanbara, okay? Shogun Assassin. Shogun Assassin is the next film that I'm going to do. Okay? So you guys check up on Shogun Assassin and let me know what you think when we come together again. So this is Stormy B, man, and I'm going to say goodnight for now. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you soon. Okay? Shogun Assassin is the next drop for the chop session of Kung Fu Edition. Thank you. Have a good night all.